The next area that I want to tackle here on Weir Yard is the corner over here. It doesn't normally get shown at all just because of where it is. It's actually right in the corner over the stairs, so you can see the stairs go down there. I've got my little fold down flap which I can stand on when I need access to this area, and I'm going to be using that a huge amount as I work over there. Today's video comes in association with Train-O-Matic, makers of DCT decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Visit train-o-matic.com and see what they've got suitable for you. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model OO gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com, and don't miss out on your latest logo.
I think I refer to this occasionally as Mill Hill, but it doesn't really have a name. The reason, quite obviously, it's Mill Hill is because of the N gauge, actually, windmill up there. I did do a video on force perspective, and yeah, kind of, sort of, not much, but does work. But all of this is coming out. I don't like this rather pedestrian rolling hillside. Also, it was an early addition to Weir Yard, and I've moved on a lot since then. You can see over here where I got to with the ready rocks that I had left over salvaged from the original Jablite Mountain. And the back scene, the new photographic back scene, ends there as well. There is a reason for this. It's because I'm going to be building Duntellin-Pike.
Your name will also go on the list. What is it? Don't tell him, Pike. Pike.
So, yes, you stupid woman.
You stupid woman.
A little fun play on words, one which came up with a very long time ago, much to the ire of Zoe when we climbed Pavey Ark. So here we are, on the Langdale Pikes. We've got Scarfell Pike, Stickle Pike, Harrison Pike, and over there I think you can see Don't Tell Him Pike. But I think it'll just be a nice fun little mountain, and I want it to be a foil not just for the back scene but for Jablite's Peak. Now this seems very, very rugged, almost Swiss peaks, and actually I'm not going to be repeating just a copy of this. Instead, what I want is a much more Welsh looking mountain, more slaty. I'm going to use less browns, more in the way of blacks to make the rock faces look more like slate. That is the plan. You can also see the back scene that Les did for me. A lot of this is going to disappear behind the mountain, just out of necessity. You can also see the last bit of the old chalk back scene just beyond the new photographic one, and that's going to be completely hidden behind the mountain, which is going to go right up and to where the ceiling starts to angle in. The first thing then I want to do is to remove any of the stuff that's going to be in the way of the new build. I've got to take the top of the hill off. I think it's actually just stacked up Jablite under there. I only vaguely remember building it. But I need to make a nice flat platform for building up the new structure, which will then get covered in shaper sheet. Now I do have the shaper sheet, but I'm waiting on delivery of an order of the plaster. So at the moment, all I can do is the preparation. So I'm going to put you on time lapse and let's get on and see what I can do. I've got the core of Duntellin-Pike in. I've used scrap packaging, and you'll have seen in the time lapse me using the hot wire cutter quite a bit to just make sure everything fits. I've left it overnight to dry, and the PVA's just kind of held it a lot better. And one of the reasons for this is so that when I start putting the shaper sheet on, at least initially, I don't want it to dislodge this inner core. I want that to provide some semblance of strength to the mounting. And that's going to be the next step that I take. The shaper sheet, I've got a packet of it here. It's catalogue number C1179 from the Woodland Scenics range, in case you're wanting to actually get some of this for yourself. And out of the packet, you can see it's got this almost smooth felt-like surface on one side, and that is bonded to what is actually some quite thick foil on the other. And you can see you can bend that, scrunch it up, and make shapes, and it holds that shape. Then that means that we can just kind of make the mountain the rough shape that I want, and then we fix it in that shape with some plaster. Once that sets, it actually just stays in that shape. It's really, really useful, particularly if you don't want a lot of substance underneath. Now, I've used the scrap foam blocks just to give some extra strength and to kind of guide where I want the shaper sheet. But you actually don't have to. If you ever see the Woodland Scenic stand as part of the Backman stand at shows, they have some really great demonstrations with waterfalls and such like, which are just freestanding on this stuff. Now, as you can see out the roll, it's fairly flat, and one of the things that I will do once I trim the appropriate pieces is scrunch it up and then straighten it out. And that starts to give a little bit more like a rock face. So you can see on that side, the bandage side, the felt side, starts to take on a much more rock-like appearance by scrunching it up and then straightening it out, rather than just going in completely flat. Although, if you were wanting to, say, create a smooth landscape, then you could just roll this out over your formers, use some plaster to hold it, and you could get a very, very lightweight structure in no time at all. I'm just going to use a pair of ordinary scissors to trim this, and then a staple gun to just hold it in the rough location. You don't have to lay it as one single piece, but it sometimes does help to minimize the number of joins. Right, so I finished putting the well, let's put plaster in inverted commas here. It's actually cheap DIY filler, and I've finished putting that on, but boy, did that take a huge length of time. So I've done it so you don't have to. Why have I done this when I talked about adding plaster? Well, there's two reasons. One, my delivery hasn't yet arrived, so I'm without plaster. I do have the shaper sheet, obviously, you can see it. But I didn't have any plaster, so I thought, well, I know people have a go at saying, oh, well, I think you'll find that X, Y, or Z from your cheapo source is absolutely perfect for doing the job. Why would you need to buy the expensive alternative? So I thought, okay, I'll put it to the test. So I've used filler, £4.25. I've used half the box, so there you are. There's like £2.12.5p that I have used on there. It took me 3 hours of hard work, of backbreaking work. It actually broke the sponge spreader that comes with the shaper sheet. So all I had was a glue spreader. And believe me, using a little school type glue spreader, I've not used one of those since I was at school, probably even at infant school. And that really, really took a lot of doing. And it looks like Lunar Toffee. I'm just not happy with it. So there you are. That's why you don't use cheap filler. What am I going to do about it? Well, all is not lost. And this comes back to the thing about confidence is the main thing that you need in railway modelling. And I've got every confidence that I can go over this with plaster bandage and I can recover everything. Because actually the shaper sheet will set in that shape. And going over with the plaster bandage will merely follow the contours, but I can smooth out some of the Lunar Toffee. I've come back in the morning, well rested, and actually it doesn't look as bad as I thought it did last night. And that's another really good lesson to take away from doing projects like this, is if you're thinking, oh no, it's all gone wrong, sleep on it, come back in the morning. And actually, it just gives you a different perspective. I've cut up some plaster bandage, in fact full roll. Let's not mess about, we're going to use a lot, so I've cut them into fairly large pieces, And I got my water ready, and I'm just going to put a skin of plaster bandage on there. And actually this will be a good base for that, be good and solid and strong. And the plaster bandage will hopefully give us a rock-like structure that will take the acrylic washes and look like rocks. I actually used a little bit more than perhaps I could have got away with, so I put 2 or even 3 layers in places of the plaster bandage. I partly wanted to make sure it was really strong, and also I just wanted to make sure that I got a really good rock-like appearance going on. Now I'm going to give you a guided tour. It's a bit easier now that we've got an actual landform to show you what's going on. Up here we've got the tarn, which is up at the top of the mountain. There'll be a little waterfall trickling down into that at the back, and then that'll go down, and you can see the groove that I've worked in down to. I'm going to put some gravel down here and really work on different effects for sort of foamy white water, and then there'll be another little area at the bottom, and the stream will sort of disappear down in this direction somehow. And I may yet cut out a groove just going across here, which I will then use a little bit more plaster bandage in to make a stream bed, which will disappear off towards the back scene and potentially be heading off towards that bit of water over there on the back scene. It was quite a big procedure because of where it is. It's really difficult to get access in here and even harder to film at the same time. What I'm going to be doing next is painting it. Again, this is the same technique that I've done quite a few times in previous videos. I'm going to be using some different acrylic paints. I've got the brown and I've got quite a bit of black. I'm going to try and make this less brown and more black and try and end up with that much more slatey look to it. I do these with a water wash, so actually it's not going to look black. It looks quite dark, but experience tells me that this will lighten up. But in the meantime, I'm doing the scree, and this is not porridge. This is actually a mix of different gravels, talus and ballast, along with PVA glue and some leftover super seal that I had just to make it a little bit more watery. Now I've used this product not just on the Jadlight's peak, but Minith Tatus Newith I went in great depth into how I do this, so I'm not going to really dwell on it. Now I've also got some Warworld Gaming basing slate, and these are just chunks of real slate, and I'm going to stick them into the devil's porridge and just try and build up some real rocks, not just at the base of the cliffs but also around the top where the tarn is, and just try and get some great texture and colours in. Enjoy this being slopped around, and I'll catch you on the other side. Today's video comes in association with Train-O-Matic, makers of DCT decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Visit train-o-matic.com and see what they've got suitable for you. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model OO gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com, and don't miss out on your latest logo.
I'd like to thank everybody over on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to our Patreon heroes. Without you guys over on Patreon, we really wouldn't be able to keep making the video content that you see on this channel. And don't forget that you can also head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk and check out the different tiers of rewards. Thank you so much. You are absolute legends.